I'm making a vow right now. This story is not going to be queried at least until January. Just going through the story over the past few days, it's becoming clearer and clearer. There are a range of smaller issues and a few large ones that need to be corrected in the story. And my original goal, my original deadline for the story that I talked about back in May was to have this thing done by sometime in the fall. And yeah, if I wasn't working full time, if I was still on my sabbatical, maybe I could magically pull that off. At this point, it's not likely. And so for me, I'm setting a limit right now that I do not query the story until January. I'm giving myself 5 months to just revise and fix this story. Even if I get to like November and this story is like what I think is finished, I will still go through and just reread it and just look for the smallest of imperfections to try and change. I am quite certain at this point that I won't get to that point. I'm quite certain that I'll get to late January and there'll still be problems for me to fix. But so January just being the earliest. But at this point, I need to I need to get out of that kind of that head in the clouds mentality of thinking that this story is going to be done this year. It's simply not going to get done. Yeah, it's not going to get done this year, but there will be a lot of progress made, and potentially by the end of it, maybe if I do well, maybe it'll be ready. But I cannot rush this. It's becoming clear that I'm the sort of person that at this point is so eager to get this story done and to get on to the next one because I have the shiny new idea syndrome for my next work, and I've got the thoughts of, okay, just get this over with, because you stuck with the story now for for a year, basically it's been probably about what, 9 months of this, something like that. So yeah, I've stuck with this for a while and I just want to move off of it. And unfortunately, that becomes very, very dangerous because you're more inclined to send off subpar work, and I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to have wasted all this time on something that is just not ready to send off a work that's just not at its best. And so deadline of January will give me that breathing room. It'll take that sort of fancy idea of getting everything done this year out of my head. It will take all of the pressure to get this done quickly, that self-imposed sort of pressure, will take you right off. And if you're a creative person, you probably fall into one of two categories. You're either like me in this scenario where you just want to get something done, in which case setting a deadline that's very far off will keep you humble, will keep you more focused. That's a good trick to that. If you're someone else that's like the perfectionist that constantly will revise and redo a story over and over and over and stick with it for like 5 years because it's just simply not completely perfect, I applaud you. But the counterpoint is setting a shorter deadline, to counteract that lizard brain, to counteract that sort of mentality of continually spinning your wheels and revising. And unfortunately, in both scenarios, that's really the only counter. If you're like me and trying to rush something over, a longer deadline will get you out of that mind state, because you can't send it off early, so you have no choice but just to continue to revise and redo it. If you're the perfectionist, a shorter deadline that you commit to doing will just simply force your hand. You basically will force you, and you'll have to send it off. So in either situation, basically setting something that sort of forces you to take action in one direction or the other, that's kind of the only way to counteract that mentality. And so if you're the kind of person that's unsure where you kind of fall on that spectrum, just kind of notice your habits and your patterns and see how you've done with projects before, and then I guess set your deadlines accordingly depending upon what kind of person you are. But yeah, for me right now, I'm in the send it off mode. I am just completely wanting to get this thing off and get it complete out there, to the agents and all that stuff. And it's simply a waste of time. It's simply a waste. It'll be a waste of the 8 months, 9 months, whatever it's been that I started working on this story. It'll be a complete waste just to throw it all away by sending off something that's not at that level. So a farther out deadline will keep me in that mentality. Will keep me focused on just the story and not with no external pressure. So, but that is going to be it for today. Yeah, 5 months more of this at least. It's an interesting thought, but it's definitely humbling, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the story turns into in 5 months. For all the issues, I think overall, I think it's a really good story overall. In 5 months, I'll be interested to see where it ends up.